All right, welcome back to We On the Thread. I'm your host, Jacob. If you're new here, thank you for joining the space. And if you're here from episode one, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. Before I dive into what this week's topic is, I feel like I didn't share about who I was. And it's like, what makes you qualified? You know, what makes you to know it all? I mean, I'm not, but, I want to just tell you all more about myself. So, I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. I like to say I was born in Seattle, raised the first half, and then my second half I was raised in Tacoma, but Seattle was obviously my home. If you ask me what my favorite football team is, if you can guess it, it's the Seahawks. And then basketball, it was the Supersonics before they yanked it away from us and moved to OKC. OKC is not my team. Miami Heat is my team until we get a team back here. But they keep saying we will, but we'll see how long it'll take. Yeah, so I have my bachelor's in criminal justice with a double minor in human development and political science. I really I really dove into like the victimization aspect, which is why I got my minor in human development because I felt like human development shows why we end up into criminals or how people become victims, yada yada yada. And political science, I did that because I'm like everything we talk about involves some type of political or policing or all types of whether we like it or not. And so that, and then I also got, no, sorry, I got my bachelor's degree at Washington University. Go Cougs! If you're a Coug, let's go. Y'all already know what it's about out there. And then I got my master's degree in criminal justice from Seattle U. Go Redhawks. And so when I got my master's in criminal justice with an emphasis in victimization, I dove myself into the juvenile aspect, but also the adult aspect. So I got both of those, worlds. And so, yes, while I have that academic lens, I also have lens experience. And so I understand how the system works. I have been racially profiled and had guns drawn on me by police officers. I've dealt with homelessness on cases, especially during COVID. So, I definitely have those experiences. And I'm a black man. I'm 28. Can't believe I'm saying that. Like it's weird. 2 more years till I'm 30. And so, yeah, I think that's part of why I started this podcast, because I wanted to create this space where we can talk honestly about what it means to be black and brown in this country, and then the everyday realities that often get overlooked and misunderstood. There's a lot of myths out there about black and brown people. There's a lot of myths out there about what we are in the criminal aspect, and that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about that. We're here to talk about myth busting, all that, and we can see like look at what black and brown people are doing in this world. Look at look at how we navigated mental health. Look at how we navigated through our struggles, but also celebrate what we have accomplished, the joys in our lives, the passion in our lives. And so in today's episode, I'm going to talk about growing up black and brown. And so I wanted to talk about the experience many of us have faced from childhood, things like how people see us, the stereotypes placed on us, the way schools and systems treat us differently, and even how early we've taught to be cautious around authority. For me growing up, that all that, especially that part about being cautious of our authorities has been deeply ingrained in my memory. I remember when there was an incident when I was, I can't remember how old I was, but I saw my dad getting frisked and the officers were being very aggressive with them. My dad is 6'8", by the way, but they were being aggressive with him. He was in his cap and gown on his way to get his associate's degree. We were all excited. And I remember that being the first instance that I'm like, this is how they treat. But I remember like a lot of black brown people know about the talk. The talk. If you don't know what the talk is not the birds and the bees. It's about how to stay alive when interacting with a law enforcement officer. And so we were taught keep your hands visible. Do not have them in your pockets. Don't make any sudden movements. Listen to what they are saying. Do not, do not question them. Do not argue with them. Do not agitate them. Your main concern is coming home. And I remember that as a kid. And I'm like, weren't they supposed to be here to protect us? That's what I thought. I thought they were supposed to be here to protect us, to for us to be. They're supposed to be our safe havens for if there's a crime. But my parents taught me that, like, and they instilled that into us. I remember in the car, like they were like, keep your wallet somewhere where you can easily grab it. Keep make sure that if they pull you over, you pull right over. Keep your hands on that steering wheel, or if you're in the passenger behind, keep your hands so they can visibly see what's in your hand. Then don't make no sudden movements. I remember like my parents even if we had 'cause at the time I had a PSP, which is black, put it where they can see it. And so it's just like the cautions that we had to learn about at a young age, per se. Like this is young. This isn't like 17, 18. It's like I'm gonna say like 6 or 7 years old. Kept getting reiterated. And like I said, this isn't just these these aren't just isolated experiences. They're patterns. Black and brown kids are often taught to grow up fast. We learn early that we're often labeled as a threat when we're just being kids, and that shapes our mental health, our self-esteem, and the way we move in this world. When we grow up as kids, like we're already taught, and it's not. I always say it's not our parents' fault. It's the system. Because if the system was better, our parents would not have to teach us this stuff. And, it's just like growing up in systems, like I know I remember in school, I would get bullied for having braids. People would often, like, even teachers would make comments, you look better with your short hair. Didn't understand that. But when I had an afro, I used to love my afro, like, love. And they would call it, they was like, that looks like a mess. Now, I will admit, sometimes I would not comb my afro. It might look like a mess, but there's a lot of times where I didn't understand that I was being stereotyped, that people seen afros as unclean, or they seen afros as unprofessional. I remember one memory, like in high school, where I had a teacher that basically profiled me and was making fun of me and getting kids to make fun of me. And I ended up leaving. And then ended up calling security and said that I ran away. And I'm like, I didn't leave, I didn't run away. I went straight to the office because I was heated. And so then my mom and dad, they always came out pairs in school. When we were in sports, when I was in trouble, when parent teacher conference, they always tried to come in pairs. And let them know like, yep, two parent household, yet we're actively married. I think that was something else. Like people like assumed my parents were separated and they would be surprised when they would come together. Yeah, my parents were not separated. They were together. And and I remember my dad coming and he was heated. Like my dad is also diabetic and he didn't eat, so that didn't help. But also my mom was like a comment because my mom doesn't want them seeing my dad as a mad black man or aggressive black man. And my mom's like, I don't want them to see it as mad black woman. And so they knew to come in there. But both my mom and dad are educated. Both of them are educated. Both of them understand racism. Both of them understand like a lot of things. They taught us. I think one of another core memory was like, and let me tell you, I used to not like this, but I understood why my dad did this. If like we used to have to look up like a black entrepreneur or someone that was black and write papers on them. Here's the catch. We didn't have we weren't allowed to use the internet. My dad had these thick encyclopedias. Now some of them were like 1970s, some 1980s, 1990s. Thick. Let me tell you, anytime we moved, I did not like it. My dad would put them into a duffel bag and we'd have to carry it. It would be heavy. Heavy. No matter what you put in, they're heavy because they're thick. So we'd have to go look through there and then maybe we get to go to the library and we can use the computer for like 2 hours for free. We might be able to do that. But mostly we were getting encyclopedias. And then we would have to report out to my dad. And then my dad would often like not criticize, but he would like he'd say devil's advocate. He'd be like, all right, what about this? Or what about this? What about this? What about this? And so it really taught me how to navigate. Because he used to be like, okay, what do you think the other side's gonna be thinking? What do you think how are you gonna prepare for their argument? And then I have a younger sister who's a year younger than me. She would Me and her would debate. We have very similar ideologies. It's just like a couple that we didn't agree with. And so we would debate with each other. And it'd be, I know this. And then she'd be like, I know this. So it'd be back and forth. But I think it made us smarter in a sense because we helped strengthen each other. And so that's just the lesson me and my sister had. But I feel like a lot of people didn't understand me and my sister's relationship. And like we both went through different childhood traumas. And I consider we had a pretty big family. So I have two half brothers, but we don't do the half. If you are my brother, you're my brother. If you're my sister, you're my sister. So I had two half brothers. I had my twin brother. I am a twin. He's 3 minutes older than me, but I'm tall. And then my younger sister, who's younger than me. And then in high school, freshman year of college, my parents adopted my two cousins. That's why I say you know, we had different experiences, but I think me and my sister were the closest in the fact that like we 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 would we would hang out a lot more. We would we would debate more about things and topics. Sometimes we'd be just rambling on about the same thing. And then like my relationship with my twin brother, it was video games. So I mean, all of us play video games, but me, my brother's connection was video games. So it's like we would play like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and then that was like our joint game, and then Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Pac-Man, and then I would get into my sports. Like I love sports games, and so my second oldest brother and I, so we would often when he would come down because he lives in Texas, so he would come down sometimes and he'd whoop me in basketball. That was our big thing, basketball. He'd whoop me in basketball because he knew I didn't have a right. So he knew that. When I would do layups, I would do layups on the right with my left hand. So he taught me how to use my left and my right hand. I didn't like the way he taught me, but he made me a better basketball player. But also, if you know, down south, they talk chat. So he would talk the most trash. I think he was my biggest op because I'd be wanting to punch him in the face because of how much he would talk trash. But then I think he was doing that because he knew other people do it. So he's like, bro, I'm doing this to help you because other people are going to do this to you. So you need to learn how to stand up for yourself and, fight back. And then my oldest brother, like, we're not really close anymore, but we related in sports and other things. And so it's just like that was like our core. And then the two that got added, like they were younger, like way younger. Like now one's 17 and one is 18. And so it's just like the way okay, like I tried to be like the older brother, the older brother, and I tried to like help them navigate through life, but there was an age difference. Like their age difference, like they're the ones that taught me what I never knew what skibbity toilet was. I'm like, what the mess is skibbity toilet? And the business or whatever. Like, I don't know. They would say all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's not my time for it. Yeah. So I always like so that was all like I always say like even though there is childhood trauma, with especially in black and brown people, it's not just about our hardships. If it was just about our hardships, we would not be as strong as we were. Like growing up black and brown is beautiful. Like it's always surrounded by strength, culture, and community. Like I just remember as a kid when we were growing up, going to like I would go to my grandma's house on my mom's side, my grandma and grandpa's house on my mom's side. We eat there. We'd go to my grandpa's house on my dad's side because he lived in Seattle. We would eat there. We'd go to my uncle's houses. We'd go to my aunt's houses, friends' houses that we consider family. And I remember I would be so happy because it's true. We could eat, I remember I'd eat y'all stuff. And I just remember like going like culture celebrations and how loud black and brown people would get, how loud and like exemplified it is. Learning about my culture, like I always say like, look at the music that we have. We have positive music. We have beautiful music. It's often stolen by other like by white people. Let's be honest. You know, there's a lot of things like there's traditions that my parents started that I still do to this day where like we go out and we celebrate ourselves. And I think that's something that like we need to take a moment and just like realize how important that is. Because that's what keeps us grounded and that's what gives us resilience, push through challenges. That's how we meet other people who are like us. And so that's something that we have to just remember. We have to keep remembering. It's just like, yes, there's struggles, but remember the celebrations, remember the traditions, remember the gatherings, remember the mentors who uplifted you. This episode, when we're talking about growing up black and brown, Yeah, it's both. It's a struggle to navigate through these systems that weren't built for us, but also there is a beauty in the culture and the resilience that carried us forward. If you had similar experiences, I want you to know you're not alone. I've had experience. There's many people who have similar experiences. And if you're listening and these are new experiences, I really hope this episode helps you better understand what it's like for so many of us. And so I just want to appreciate y'all for listening to this. Thank you for tuning in to We On a Threat. Next week we'll dive into mental health, how we break those stigmas around seeking care and prioritizing our well-being. But until next time, take care of yourself and remember our story matters.